That Nautilus machine is right there in the middle of the floor, right smack in the middle of the doorway. In fact, as you walk into the famous Gold's Gymnasium in Venice Beach, California, where all the top West Coast bodybuilders work out, it is standing there, boldly, and with seeming arrogance, inviting you to try it. How about a workout, it seems to taunt. Want to build a flawless Herculean physique? The challenge is there without any doubt. But is this robust invitation really a fact, or is it simply insidious fiction spawned by a scrupulous business interest and then spread throughout the world of bodybuilding like pungent spore? Is the widespread publicity of these machines in reality a business-nurtured spore that settles after its windy voyage, develops and grows uncontrollably, and then attempts to suffocate the senses and energies similar to the parasitic fungus called mistletoe that attacks the mighty oak and attempts to drain its life fluid? The mistletoe has also gained popular acceptance due to colorful stories that distort its real purpose, but it is only a puny parasite that doesn't either destroy or enhance the mighty oak. It is content to simply live off the oak's might, taking nourishment from it and not offering anything. Is this the boring story of the Nautilus machines too? We have never before made an attempt to analyze the Nautilus machines because we honestly felt that they were far too simple and mundane in operation to be any but the most minor value to the serious bodybuilder. Modern bodybuilding is a serious, sophisticated, and rather complicated sport. It is not so simple as to be purely mechanical as some would like us to believe, especially not if the mechanical implements are very limited. Bodybuilding is a fine scientific and artistic blend of mechanics involved and the careful utilization of basic mechanical functions which vary considerably in operation and individual use of equipment. And as a result, modern bodybuilding has become so sophisticated that it can be considered a true art form. It is in fact an art and not a science. True, an artist needs the brushes, paints, canvas, etc. in order to produce a fine painting, and he also needs the proper training in order to know how to use his tools and subjects, etc. But his art is only fully developed when his intrinsic knowledge of his tools, abilities, and so forth are realistically coordinated in proper context to his desired purpose. The best laid plans of the inspiring artist can easily be upset if he but overlooks such a small thing as his brushes. The quality and texture of his end product is definitely controlled by choice of tools. No matter how much schooling, experience, or enthusiasm he has, if these tools are not adequate, the end product, the painting, will show this lack. So it is with the bodybuilder too, the art of bodybuilding also very dependent upon the right tools for the best job. This fact cannot be denied or overlooked. The real-life painting of the bodybuilder, his physique, will be developed to the fullest only when the artist, the bodybuilder, uses the finest tools. Just imagine what a Rembrandt would look like if it were painted with a third grader's paste brush, for instance. We have kept quiet about the famous Nautilus machines for a period of 2 years. This was to permit the champions and other up-and-coming stars to try out these machines, to utilize them, and to find out if they are beneficial to the modern bodybuilder in actual practice instead of theory alone. We wanted to see what could actually be produced in the form of muscularity and size, as opposed to the standard exercise equipment already proven and is used throughout the world today. 2 years is definitely enough time to investigate the worth of any piece of bodybuilding equipment. During this 2 years of silence on our part in the pages of Muscle Builder, the creator of Nautilus machines, Arthur Jones, has been writing numerous articles and extolling their benefits. He also invited bodybuilding stars to come to Florida to try out his machines and see what effect they can have on their already superb physiques. We kept quiet during this time, awaiting the professional opinion of these great bodybuilding stars as they trained on the Nautilus machines and took Arthur Jones' instruction. Arthur Jones has been expounding the benefits of his machines in Ironman magazine for some time. Naturally, we believe that Perry Rader, editor and publisher of Ironman, is a very honorable man and will print only the truth. But over a period of time, Ironman magazine was filled with the Nautilus machines and their benefits until it almost dominated the magazine, creating the impression that the Nautilus machines were the greatest bodybuilding invention of the last decade, even the last 2 or 3 decades. Since Perry Rader is supposed to be an honorable man, giving all sides of the situation in his magazine, a lot of readers and bodybuilders throughout America gave great credence to the extensive claims made in behalf of these Nautilus machines. Perry Rader, in lending his magazine his personal opinion and giving space to the Nautilus machines in Ironman, actually created acceptance by him and therefore made inroads into bodybuilding. After all, isn't this the sort of honorable, trustworthy thing to be believed by bodybuilders everywhere? We do not understand why Perry Rader only permitted the pros and not the opposite. The only conclusion that we can honestly reach is that either Perry Rader is not a great expert on physical fitness, or he has compromised the ideals of Ironman by permitting Arthur Jones to publish his articles without any opposite opinion. Now, after 2 years of Nautilus machines being put to use, we have decided to interview these stars who have derived the machine's benefits. This 2-part article will let you in on the facts you haven't read about, and as usual, Muscle Builder doesn't pull any punches. It is devoted to the truth, no matter how much it upsets the proverbial apple cart. We have absolutely nothing against Arthur Jones, and nothing against his Nautilus machines. After all, everybody and everything has its place. We are only interested in presenting another piece of exercise apparatus that could be useful to bodybuilding, if it really is useful, and if it is not useful, to say that it is not. If it does have some benefits, we will expose these benefits and make the readers of Muscle Builder aware of its good and bad points. In this spirit, the investigation has taken place. This article will deal with the opinions of the top bodybuilding champions and near champions, such persons as Arnold Schwarzenegger, who we all know is the undisputed king of bodybuilders. Arnold and Mr. Universe Franco Columbu, another great bodybuilding champion, both went to Florida to test these miracle Nautilus machines at the invitation of Arthur Jones himself. We have also interviewed Ken Waller, still another champion that you've seen often in Muscle Builder. Ken is chief instructor at Gold's Gym, where the top champs work out. He is in excellent position to tell us exactly what the numerous stars feel about the Nautilus machines after giving these machines more than a fair try. Ken has also used the Nautilus machines extensively in his quest to further improve his championship physique. The famous Vince Gironda has considerable comments on these machines, and he's a man that knows the subjects of physiology, anatomy, etc., very well, to put it mildly. Also, we have very promising up-and-coming bodybuilding star Roger Callard, who worked with Arthur Jones in the development and testing of the Nautilus machines. He will give you some inside information about the machines too. All in all, the stars will tell you exactly what they have to say about the machines. Plus, from their communication with Sergio Oliva, Casey Viator, and others, what all the stars say about these controversial machines. Our first interview will be with 3-time Mr. Olympia winner Arnold Schwarzenegger. Joe Weider asks, Arnold, tell me first what your general opinions are concerning the Nautilus machines. Arnold, I feel the Nautilus machines are far too strict in their exercise application and are too restricted in certain muscle groups. Joe, because they are limited, extremely limited, as far as movement is concerned, and this in turn limits muscle growth. Joe Weider, do you mean by this that there isn't enough peripheral movement, natural movement outside the strict mechanical groove during the performance of the exercise to engage the muscles more thoroughly and from slightly different angles as nature originally intended? Arnold answers, yes, that's exactly what I mean, Joe. For instance, in the pullover. Exercise on the Nautilus machine. The resistance is confined to one and only one direct movement, as if the bodybuilder is nothing but a senseless robot. It just isn't natural, Joe. I feel sort of stupid, like it would feel, I imagine, if Parnelli Jones were to attempt to express and prove his driving talents by using a child's slot car game. Joe Weider, then you don't believe the Nautilus machines can compete with proven methods of weight training, the methods with barbells, dumbbells, etc. you have used to successfully build your prize-winning physique? Arnold, definitely not. I don't feel that the Nautilus machines even come close to training with standard barbell and dumbbell and pulley equipment, Joe. It is my honest opinion that there is no comparison at all. And there is... Joe interjects, "Pardon me for interrupting you, Arnold, but I'd like to let our readers hear a little more about the blunt statement you just made. Could we talk further on the subject of comparison between the Nautilus machine and the standard equipment now being used successfully in gyms everywhere?" Arnold, "Sure, Joe. I think this is a very important fact and it should be aired." Joe Weider asks, "Why is there no contest between the two, the standard equipment being the decided winner? Why do you feel that it is this cut and dried?" Arnold, "I don't just feel it, Joe. I know it. After using the Nautilus very extensively in search of something new that would allow me to make greater improvement in my bodybuilding career, I know now that I can make far superior progress with a simple barbell and flat bench than with a $700 Nautilus machine and without injuries. You see, Joe, with a regular barbell, I can do a dozen variations of the pullover exercise. Even if I do only one type of pullover with a regular barbell, I can shift with my shoulders or move my elbows in or out, or I can arch my back, or I can do them in a declined position. I can straighten out my forearms for a different degree and angle of resistance, etc., etc. There's practically no end to the variations, Joe, and when I'm grinding out those last few reps, this feature of altering the position of my skeletal structure while using barbells brings all the muscles into complete play and decreases my chance of injury and forced layoff. When certain muscles or sections of the same muscle are fatigued to their limit, a slight movement here and there is necessary to bring into play the other less fatigued muscles or sections of the muscles in order to fully develop them and eliminate dangerous strain. This is the natural way, Joe, and not the unnatural, mechanical way of the Nautilus machines. Joe Weider, "Yes, I know, Arnold. That was my experience with these machines too. Why don't we discuss those injuries you just mentioned? Just what kind of injuries did you experience?" Arnold replies, "Since the Nautilus machines don't allow my arms to move naturally, as I just mentioned, I received some injuries in my rib cage. The muscles in between my ribs got torn a little bit, and my pecs were torn too. This isn't right. As you know, Joe, I worked out hard, damn hard, with regular equipment, and I very seldom get injuries unless by some freak accident." Joe Weider, "No, it isn't right, Arnold. You work out the hardest of any bodybuilder I've ever seen. You use heavy weights and really push yourself. Now why do you think the Nautilus machines cause so many of these injuries you've received, and the injuries that I've heard about that others sustain from using this equipment?" Arnold, "Well, besides that pullover contraption that I already mentioned, let's take the tricep extension for instance. I got unbelievable pain in my elbows, much like the common and very painful tennis elbow. The triceps extension movement is far too strict and doesn't allow the arms to move in any direction but one, and the single movement, due to the way the arms are held captive, places undue strain on the elbow joint. This terrible pain I developed on the Nautilus machine forced me to stop using it too." Joe Weider, "This is really a discredit to a piece of equipment when it causes such an injury. I know personally that you normally blast your triceps like mad and develop massive muscle from standard equipment, not get injured." Arnold, "Right? I was really very disappointed, Joe. I also had problems with the bicep curling machine. For instance, in the lower biceps, I got a kind of feeling that the biceps were forming a number of tears, and that made me afraid of the whole thing." Joe Weider, "I hear it's a fact that some bodybuilders in the gym actually did rip their biceps." Arnold responds, "Yes, they did rip their biceps, and I almost tore my pecs, you know, before I stopped using that ridiculous machine. I had to lay off for a while, and I don't like that. It shouldn't happen, and it's dangerous, Joe. No bodybuilders want to be injured. Let's face it, a lot of us had to experience forced layoffs. That pullover machine injured my shoulders too, but not once, but many times. I kept trying, though, to see if it had any merit, but no more. I think the equipment is very dangerous." Joe Weider, "It's sad, too. Everybody I've talked to feels the same way. That's not good for bodybuilding at all. Exercise equipment should always be safe, progressive, and result-producing." Arnold, I agree, Joe. For instance, I'm a professional bodybuilder, and I cannot afford to be laid off due to injuries. It's like closing my business down. Joe Weider asks, how did the Nautilus machines rate with you as far as creating good, solid muscular growth? Arnold, Joe, it doesn't even come close to regular barbell and dumbbell training. The Nautilus system alone doesn't make sense. Joe Weider, I interviewed Ken Waller, Franco Colombo, Vince Gironda, and many others, and they all agree that what can be obtained from the Nautilus machines can also be attained better and quicker from barbells, dumbbells, and any of the other common pieces of gym equipment. As a matter of fact, even small home gym equipment is far superior to them. Arnold, this is a fact. There is absolutely no doubt about it. Joe Weider says, also Arnold, these experienced bodybuilders state that when they are using the Nautilus curling machine, the arm is forced into an uncomfortable position while curling, and elbow injuries and extreme discomfort is common. I know one thing, my elbow joints were sure tender after that workout I had the other day. I'm glad I didn't overdo it. Arnold, yes, I know only too well. Also, Joe, you can't develop a high peak in the biceps because you cannot turn the wrist. You are just as confined with this machine as with the others. The lack of natural movement is very conspicuous. Joe Weider, Ken Waller tells me that he lost 3/4 of an inch off his arms using this machine, plus he lost all of his fine definition. Arnold, I'm sorry to say it, but so did I, and I really gave the bicep curling machine a good honest test. After all, being a professional bodybuilder, I'm very open-minded, and I need to know about any and all piece of exercise equipment, old or brand new, that might be of value to my business. While using the Nautilus machines, I was very disturbed to see my body lose its definition and to see my arms lose their contour, the peak in the bicep for instance, and I began to get rather paranoid about viewing myself in the mirror. I even wanted to avoid the mirrors. This is a very demoralizing experience, Joe. Joe Weider, that's terrible, Arnold. I can't imagine how you felt, the greatest and most muscular physique in the world, being abused and defiled by a much overrated piece of fancy junk. Arnold responds, well, Joe, this is the way I look at it. Even if training on the Nautilus machines did cause me to lose over 1/2 inch on my arms and cause other large muscles to actually get flabby and lack density and shape, I learned a lesson. Someone rightly philosophized that knowledge is power. I know now what to avoid, and you won't ever catch me on one of those Nautilus machines again. Joe, do you remember when I came in to have some photos taken after I came back from Arthur Jones' place in Florida? Remember that? Hell, I looked terrible. You yourself know how you've always been nice to me when I'm not exactly up to par, and you never really criticized me that much. But at that time, even you said that I looked terrible. I'll never forget that look of disbelief on your face. That really clinched it. Joe Weider, you did look terrible. I'll never forget that. You left here looking great. You weighed a firm, muscular 226 pounds with cuts galore. You were training very hard in between exhibitions, as I remember. Then you went to Florida and spent 14 days training on the Nautilus machines, just to try it out so you could write an article about it for Muscle Builder. Arnold responds, yes. When I came back from Florida, you and others said I've never looked so fat. I only gained 5 pounds, but my condition was terrible. Arthur Jones fed me all those milkshakes, and it was fatty tissue I developed, not muscle. He wanted to prove to someone using his machines could gain weight. I gained weight all right, but the machines didn't do anything. Joe Weider says, that's what Franco said too. He was really upset about the pullover lat machine, especially since he could do only one exercise. You know how Franco likes to work his lats and lower back. But there was no variety, and development suffered as a result. Oh, another thing, Arnold. When Franco was down there in Florida, he reports that Casey Viator was there too, and that when Casey worked his lats on the Nautilus pullover machine, he also had to do 3 other exercises with other equipment to really develop his lats. Arnold, since we're talking about Casey Viator, I think we ought to bring forth a few salient points that bodybuilders should know, especially since they probably read all the ads and articles about these Nautilus machines in Iron Man magazine. Casey Viator is not a product of the Nautilus machines or Arthur Jones' instruction. Casey Viator was a damn good, excellently muscled bodybuilder long before that. I trained with Casey for those 14 days in Florida. We discussed training on the Nautilus at length. Casey and Arthur Jones argued considerably. Jones wanted credit for Casey's magnificent development and wanted Casey to endorse his equipment, etc. Casey simply called the machines a piece of blank. Casey wanted to do his barbell exercises, and Jones left the room very angry because he wanted to show off his Nautilus machines, with Casey training on them. I don't know, Joe. You might not want to print those words. They're strong in Muscle Builder, but it's the truth. Joe Weider: as you know, Arnold, Muscle Builder prints the whole truth. Arnold responds: good, because Casey Viator never used the Nautilus in his training except for the pullover exercise. He told me this personally. Everything else was regular barbell, dumbbell, and other standard exercises. This took place just a few months before the Mr. America contest, and most people actually felt he won this contest even though he didn't because he looked so great. Casey admitted to me many times that he didn't and still doesn't train on the Nautilus machines. He only used the Nautilus pullover machine because of his temporary bad back. The Nautilus pullover machine is adequate as a supplemental exercise in a pinch only. Joe Weider: Sergio Oliva was in his worst shape before he went to England to compete with Bill Pearl in the Mr. Universe contest, and he looked bad at the contest too. Did the Nautilus have anything to do with this? Arnold: I know the whole story between Bill Pearl and Sergio. Bill Pearl wanted the machines because Arthur Jones told him the Nautilus machines would make him into Mr. Universe. Bill ordered just the pullover and bicep machines and trained on them for 2 months. Then he called me up to tell me he thought the machines were really bad, and what did I think about them. I told him I also felt this way. Bill told me then that he definitely never used them again. He said he wouldn't allow Arthur Jones to use him for publicity either. Sergio really smoothed out, even looked fat after using the Nautilus machines, which allowed Bill Pearl to beat him for the Mr. Universe crown. Joe Weider: tell the readers how Bill Pearl beat the mighty Sergio Oliva for the Mr. Universe title since they both used the Nautilus machines. Arnold: Bill Pearl used barbells, dumbbells, and other regular gym equipment before the contest. Having discontinued using the Nautilus, consequently, he was in his best shape ever. Sergio continued using the Nautilus machines right up to the contest, and as you know, was in the worst shape. Joe Weider states: Arnold: I hear that a lot of bodybuilders get a good pump from the Nautilus machines. Arnold responds: yes, but when they tell me this, it doesn't impress me much. The pump isn't everything. Swimming gives bodybuilders a good pump too. My legs, for instance, get extremely pumped when I swim a lot, but I don't gain muscular size from it. As a matter of fact, anyone that swims much will get a smooth appearance. That is what the Nautilus machines do for you too. Joe Weider asks: all in all, you don't find any virtue in these Nautilus machines? Arnold answers: I find that there is no value in the machines, and I would not recommend them to anyone. Everyone I know feels the same as I do. The only reason any of the bodybuilders I know of still use them is because of their mystique. That is to say, they hope there's still some secret to be discovered, but they soon find out there isn't. So many bodybuilders, as you know so well, Joe, are trying to find an easy, effortless way to build muscle, and there just isn't an easy way. It's all hard work. Arthur Jones even promises that with the Nautilus machines, only 1/4 of the training that I do is required to produce a Mr. Universe physique. I just couldn't believe he said this, so I asked him about it. I said, you mean since I've won the Mr. Universe title after 4 years of training, you could develop a Mr. Universe winner after only 1 year training on your Nautilus machines? He backed off some then, but he still claims he can do it. Joe Weider: how on earth could he say that anyway? The machines don't work the abdominals, the lower back. It doesn't really work the traps, the legs, etc. Arnold: I know. It's really ridiculous. The only thing it really does is prepare you for the hospital. I think it's nothing more than a sophisticated torture machine. In fact, Joe, Arthur Jones wants a person to stay on the machines till you can't possibly do any more, till you're completely fatigued and dizzy and fall off the machine. Then he says, does this ever happen when you use barbells or dumbbells? Naturally, you say no. Then he says, you see, that machine really works, doesn't it? He thinks that's proof, if you can believe that, Joe, that when you get dizzy and torture yourself, you are making progress. It's unbelievable. I can get that sort of ridiculous torture by running full blast down to San Diego on the freeway or whatever, but I'm not stupid. Joe Weider. Arthur Jones is also trying to incorporate my Weider principles in the application of his machines. He uses supersets, flushing principles, etc. Arnold. Yes, that's right. It's the only sensible thing he uses in his training, but you are the inventor of this, not Arthur Jones. But let's face it, Joe, even your perfected result-producing principles are useless unless the equipment is good. To sum it up, Joe, about all I can say is I don't think the Nautilus machines are any good for the modern bodybuilder in any way. Joe Weider concludes, well, thank you, Arnold. I really appreciate you taking time from your busy schedule for this interview. I'm sure that serious-minded bodybuilders everywhere will find your comments very beneficial. Arnold, glad to help you, Joe. I think it's about time the bodybuilder got a fair shake truth, and honesty is the only way. I'm really happy to have part in the truth you always print in Muscle Builder. You can always call upon me to help you in any way.